folks, I'm PK, the soccer guy, and I'm here to talk about the World Cup 2018 that will take place in Russia. And today I'm going to talk about the groups A and B that will take place in this World Cup. And we'll start with the group A, what I call the group of life, because at least two teams will survive, will move on into the next round. Maybe that would not happen if they play in another group. This is probably the easiest and the weakest group of the whole World Cup that counts with Russia, which is the host of the World Cup, with Uruguay and Saudi Arabia and also Egypt. I'm going to start talking about Russia, that has the goalie Akinfev, probably the best player of the team. Has some good players like the forward Fyodor Smolov, some good players in the midfield like Zagoev, Zobnin, Denisov, but it's not a good squad. You must remember that Russia was dismembered, and once was dismembered, Soviet Union ended. They lost Ukraine, which has a much more tradition than soccer tradition than Russia had, and they lost these players. They lost a large population to draw players from, and then Russia since then has not been able to have good teams like they had, for example, in 1982, where they had the goalkeeper Dasaev, they have Shivatse, they have Blokin, they have a very strong team. They also had Yashin back there in the 50s and stuff. Well, that's kind of over. Russia has to play now with a limited amount of players, a much more limited resource of talent, and this team is not a much talented squad. Probably the best player of Russia is probably Putin, their political leader, who can somehow kind of manipulate things behind the scenes with FIFA. And actually, we can see that this has already happened, as Russia is playing in probably the easiest group, the easiest draw of all. From the other groups, comparing to the other groups, this is the easiest one. It has Uruguay, which has a good team. Uruguay, you must remember that Uruguay has won 2 World Cups and has reached many semifinals of World Cups. So it's a squad that has a very strong tradition in soccer. It has a very small population, and sometimes it's kind of hard to build a soccer team. This time they have a good squad. They have 2 forwards with Suarez and Cavani, who are very experienced players. They're both 31 years old, and they're still playing very well. They have a very good defensive duo with Jimenez and Godin. They play together in Atletico de Madrid, and they know each other, and they're also very prepared to play against excellent forwards as they play in Europe. And they also have some players in the midfield like Christian Rodriguez, like Arrascaeta that plays in Brazil, and Nandes. So they have a good squad, and they're probably going to win this group. They're probably going to reach the number 1 position of this group, which also has Egypt, which has an excellent player in Mohamed Salah, probably the best player in the whole group. But the team has a lot of skills. They move the ball very well, but without great objectivity. And the lowest of the draw, the lowest of the group is Saudi Arabia. That is a team that is not very organized. It has 3 defenders that kind of don't do very well together. They don't have a good goalie. And they have some good players like Al-Salahi, they have Al-Dasari, Shahiri, but it's just not enough to move on and get a spot in this group. I think that probably Uruguay is going to win most of their matches, and I think Russia has already benefited from the draw and also from the match order, because they will play the first match against Saudi Arabia, while Uruguay is going to play against Egypt. So if Russia wins Saudi Arabia, which probably will happen, and Uruguay defeats Egypt, the Russians will have a great advantage when they play against Egypt in the second round. If they have a tie, if they get a tie, they play Uruguay, which will probably beat Saudi Arabia, and then they'll be automatically qualified if they get a friendly tie, friendly draw along with Uruguay, and then both teams will move on, and that's what I think is going to happen in this group. Group B, however, we have Spain, Morocco, Iran, and Portugal. It's going to be a much tougher group. Not much for Spain. Spain has a very, very strong team since 2010. They have presented fantastic squads. They still have Iniesta there, Piqué too, and back in the defense. They have players like David Silva, like Thiago, like Isco, like one of the part of the new Spanish squad that has been renovated. So they're a very strong team. They don't have a defensive midfielder that plays stagnated in the field, so the team moves around. The side defenses move too. The forwards move constantly. Sort of like a carousel, like the Dutch team in 1974. So that's probably one of the best teams. Actually, I'll say this is probably the best squad in this World Cup, and they'll probably win all their matches and move on. And we have Portugal. It has Cristiano Ronaldo, the striker, the leading striker, a player that has always deserves so much credit from the media. Did not show much soccer in the last two World Cups. Played well in 2006, but it was a total fiasco 2010 and 2014. This is probably going to be his last World Cup. They have a very good player, Sanchez, that plays in the midfield. A good player, Gelson, on the right side. The left side of Portugal is not as strong as the right side. The defense is not as strong as the forward line. So it's a kind of an unbalanced team. They don't have a good goalie. They don't have a good stopper, sweeper. But, you know, and they fall in a very tough group. Iran has a good squad. They have an excellent coach with Carlos Queiroz. And they have some good players like Masoud Shahed, which is sort of like the owner of the team, the number 7, the team captain. This player has actually been banned from Iranian soccer because he played against an Israeli team when he was playing in Greece. He's also like been involved with some complaints with the fact that his mother, his sister, his daughter would never see him playing, so he complained against that. So it's a kind of a player that was in trouble with Iranian authorities. Due to Carlos Queiroz initiative, he's back and he's going to play this World Cup, and that's going to really help the Iranian team that has good players like number 16 Reza Jonadjinada, Morteza Pugliami, the number 18. Tarek is a good player, Milad Mohammed. So it's a very good squad, it's a tough squad, and they're going to present a tough match for Portugal. And finally Morocco, which is sort of like a foreign legion. They have 17 players that they're not from Morocco, they're not born there originally. 6 players from Holland. So if Holland is not going to be in this World Cup, at least they're going to be presented in a Morocco team. They have very good defense with Benassia, Mehdi Benassia, and Hashim. One's from Real Madrid, the other's from Juventus. They have Hakim Ziyech from Ajax playing forward. They have Amrabat, who's a very fast forward too. So they're going to be a very tough team. So Portugal also got bad luck in the game order because they're going to play the first match against Spain. So if they lose the match, and let's say Morocco or the Iranian team win the next, when they play each other, then Portugal is going to get to the second round in the need to win the second match, which is going to be against Morocco, which is going to be very tough. So if they don't win that match, then they're going to be in deep trouble. And let's say, for example, if Morocco beats Iran, plays the second match against Portugal and gets a tie, then they're going to play the last match against Spain, ready qualify. So it's going to be, things are going to be very, very tough for Portugal. However, I would say if I could have to choose two teams, I'll choose Spain and Portugal. But as I said, I don't see these two teams are very, very even, and anything can happen there. So these are my considerations, my predictions for Group A and Group B. Tomorrow I'll be back to make my comments about Group C and Group D. See you next time!